The vast expanse of the Galactic Council Central Station shimmered like a jewel suspended in the void, a nexus of diplomacy and power where countless species converged. Its spires reached into the dark, angular and polished, reflecting the cold light of distant stars. For most visitors, the station represented an almost mythical seat of interstellar governance, a place where conflicts were settled without violence, where words held more weight than weapons. For Captain Jack Reynolds and his Marine squad, it was something altogether different. It was a crucible, a proving ground, and a reminder that humanity was about to be judged among the stars. Jack's boots echoed softly on the sleek metal floor as he led his squad through the grand hall. His posture was rigid, every movement purposeful, shaped by years of discipline. His weathered face was marked by a faint scar tracing the curve of his jawline, evidence of battles fought on Earth and beyond. The Marines behind him mirrored his resolve, a diverse unit drawn from the best Earth had to offer. Sergeant Lena Morales, an expert in close-quarters combat, Specialist Kai Chen, a tactical tech operative, Corporal Malik Rivers, a sniper with unerring accuracy, and Private First Class Jenna Ortiz, the newest member, eager but grounded by hard training. Their uniforms bore the unmistakable insignia of the United States Marine Corps, a symbol steeped in history, now echoed across the cosmos. They had been summoned here, not as diplomats or ambassadors, but as representatives of humanity's strength, invited, or rather summoned, to attend a special session of the Galactic Council. The reasons were vague at first, obscured by diplomatic jargon, but the urgency had been clear. Something beyond Earth's orbit threatened to unsettle the fragile balance the Council had maintained for centuries. As they reached the central chamber, Ambassador Viral stepped forward to greet them. A tall, slender figure from the enigmatic Zalari species, Viral's skin shimmered faintly in blues and purples, his many eyes reflecting a wisdom centuries old. Yet his demeanor was cool, detached, almost patronizing. "Welcome, Captain Reynolds, to the Galactic Council," he said, voice smooth yet clipped. "We have watched humanity with interest and concern. Your species is known for its avoidance of large-scale conflict in recent decades. Many here question your readiness for the realities of galactic war." Jack met Viral's gaze steadily. "We've faced our share of conflicts, and we've learned what it means to survive." A ripple of murmurs swept through the assembled council members, each from diverse and formidable races. Towering Kroth warriors with chitinous armor, the ethereal Lurian diplomats who communicated through song, the silicon-based Tlar with crystalline features. All eyes scrutinized the Marines, expecting to see something less than what they had heard. Viral gestured toward the massive holographic display that materialized above them. Images of interstellar conflicts flashed, starships ablaze, planets razed, battles waged with weapons beyond human imagination. "Our peacekeeping forces are among the most skilled warriors known. We maintain order with precision, avoiding unnecessary bloodshed. Your approach, it seems, relies heavily on brute force and valor." Jack allowed himself a wry smile. Valor isn't just brute force. It's the willingness to stand and fight when others won't. The ambassador raised an eyebrow. "We shall see." The council had arranged a demonstration, a simulation designed to test the human contingent's capabilities in a controlled environment. The Marines were led into the sprawling combat arena, a vast chamber lined with adaptive terrain that could mimic any battlefield, from dense urban zones to harsh alien wilderness. The Council's peacekeepers observed from elevated platforms, their expressions unreadable. Jack's squad moved with practiced precision. Lena's sharpshooting was precise, Malik's eyes never lost a target, Kai's tech interference disrupted enemy communications, and Jenna's youthful energy injected fresh dynamism into their maneuvers. Yet, the simulation was unlike any Earth training. The enemy avatars were swift, adaptive, utilizing tactics and weaponry far beyond what the Marines had encountered. Still, the squad adapted. Their cohesion and improvisation turned what seemed a losing battle into a series of tactical victories. Each kill, each defensive move, each communication honed the impression that these humans, despite lacking advanced alien technology, possessed an indomitable spirit. From the Council's vantage point, whispers spread. Could these humans really match the elite peacekeepers they had always admired? But the simulation's conclusion was abrupt. As Jack signaled for extraction, alarms blared through the station. The screens flickered, an unauthorized breach in the outer docking bay. A rogue faction, long thought suppressed, had launched an assault on the station. What was meant to be a test had turned into reality. The Council peacekeepers scrambled to respond, but their rigid formations faltered against the unpredictable and brutal tactics employed by the attackers. The Marines, trained for chaos and unpredictability, shifted seamlessly from simulation to actual combat. Jack barked orders with calm authority, directing his squad through the corridors. Lena, cover left flank. Malik, set overwatch on the upper decks. Kai, disrupt their comms. Jenna, stay close and watch my six. Their small unit became a force multiplier, moving swiftly and efficiently through the battle-scarred station. Alien warriors around them fought with precision but lacked the raw tenacity and adaptability the Marines exhibited. The rogue attackers pushed hard, desperate to cripple the Council's heart. Jack found himself face-to-face with a hulking Kroth commander. The alien snarled, raising a massive energy blade, but Jack was faster. With a controlled strike and a quick disarm, the Kroth went down. But the cost was steep. As they cleared the docking bay, Malik took a glancing plasma wound. Blood seeped through his uniform, but he shook it off grimly, refusing evacuation. The Council observers watched, stunned. The Marines were not only surviving, they were leading. In the aftermath, as the rogue faction was driven back, the station lay in disarray. The Council convened in emergency session, their previous doubts challenged by the Marines' performance. Ambassador Viral approached Jack privately. "You have shown something unexpected today, Captain. Your species' willingness to engage in combat, to bear losses for the greater good. It defies our assumptions." Jack wiped the grime and blood from his brow. War is never something to take lightly. But if peace requires the strength to defend it, then we'll be ready. Viral nodded slowly, a trace of respect softening his features. Perhaps the Galactic Council has underestimated humanity. Jack looked out over the shattered docking bay, already planning their next moves. The rogue faction had been only the opening act in a conflict that threatened the very fabric of the galaxy. The Marines had arrived on the stage, not as pawns, but as key players. As the Council's grand chamber buzzed with urgent debate and cautious alliances, Jack felt the weight of his people's future on his shoulders. The challenge was immense. The stakes higher than ever. But for the first time, humanity would no longer be seen as timid or fearful. They were the Marines. And they were ready to show the galaxy what it meant to fight, and to win. The doors to the chamber hissed shut behind them, signaling the beginning of a war unlike any the Galactic Council had seen before. The tension in the Galactic Council's observation gallery was palpable as the simulation morphed suddenly from a controlled exercise into something far more dangerous and real. The holographic projections flickered erratically, the familiar patterns dissolving into chaotic bursts of red and orange alerts. It was no longer a training ground. The rogue faction's assault on the station had escalated beyond expectation. Captain Jack Reynolds steadied himself, eyes narrowing as he scanned the shifting landscape of the combat arena. What moments ago had been a meticulously designed virtual battlefield was now an unpredictable and lethal zone. The Marines stood ready, their instincts honed sharper than any artificial scenario could prepare them for. Lena, Kai, Malik, Jenna. "Gear up, this is no drill," Jack commanded, voice low but resolute. "We adapt, we overcome. Let's show them what humanity's grit looks like." Lena Morales adjusted her helmet's targeting optics, her calm precision a stark contrast to the escalating chaos. "Understood, Captain. We're with you." Kai Chen's fingers danced over his wrist console, overriding enemy comm channels and scrambling their sensors. "Comm lines are a mess, but I'm locking onto their frequencies. I'll keep their eyes blind." Malik Rivers settled into a vantage point overlooking a collapsed corridor, sniper rifle steady as he tracked enemy movement with surgical focus. Jenna Ortiz tightened her grip on her pulse rifle, muscles coiled to spring. The rogue attackers poured into the station's corridors like a flood unleashed, their tactics brutal and unpredictable. The Council's peacekeepers, once so confident in their superior technology and disciplined formations, struggled to maintain control. Their movements were rigid, their command structures faltering under the strain of sudden close-quarters combat. The Marines, by contrast, thrived amid the disorder. Jack's squad moved fluidly, covering each other's backs with practiced ease. The hum of pulse rifles, the sharp reports of sniper fire, and the low crackle of Kai's electronic disruptions combined into a symphony of coordinated destruction. Jack led the charge down a twisting corridor, flanking a group of hostile combatants who underestimated the human response. With a swift combination of hand signals and tactical precision, Lena neutralized 2 enemies with pinpoint shots while Malik suppressed reinforcements from above. Jenna provided cover fire, her youth and resolve shining through despite the intense pressure. Suddenly, an enemy combatant lunged from a side passage, energy blade drawn. Jack met the attack head-on, parrying with his own combat knife and disabling the attacker with a swift, practiced strike. The encounter was brief but brutal, a microcosm of the larger battle unfolding throughout the station. As the firefight intensified, the Marines demonstrated an adaptability alien to the Council's peacekeepers. Where the latter relied on superior firepower and rigid formations, Jack's team leveraged guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strikes, improvised traps, and seamless communication that transcended technology alone. Kai's technological prowess proved invaluable. He hacked into enemy drones, turning their surveillance against them, and manipulated the station's environmental controls to create barriers and blind spots. His quick thinking saved the squad from an ambush that would have otherwise overwhelmed them. Meanwhile, Lena's sharpshooting kept pressure on the rogue faction's leaders, dismantling their command structure piece by piece. Malik's cold eyes tracked every movement, delivering precise sniper fire that sowed confusion and fear. Jenna, though the least experienced, moved with surprising confidence, earning the respect of her squadmates. Between firefights, fleeting moments of banter and reassurance bolstered their resolve. "We're not just fighting for the Council," Jack reminded them, voice steady despite exhaustion. "We're fighting for Earth, for every person who counts on us." But victory was not without sacrifice. The squad encountered fierce resistance as they pushed deeper into the station's core. Malik took a second, more serious wound, a plasma burn to his shoulder that slowed him but didn't stop him. Lena narrowly avoided a deadly energy blast, saved only by Jack's quick reflexes. Each setback was met with grim determination. The Marines were no strangers to pain and loss. Their training had prepared them not just for victory, but for survival against overwhelming odds. From the observation deck, Ambassador Viral and other council members watched in stunned silence. The simulation, meant to showcase a controlled and predictable display of military prowess, had revealed something far more compelling. Human soldiers fighting not with technological superiority, but with relentless will and creativity. Viral's sharp gaze met Jack's as the combat subsided momentarily. "Your species' approach is unorthodox," he admitted, voice tinged with grudging respect. "There is a primal element to your warfare that is both unsettling and effective." Jack wiped sweat and grime from his brow. "War isn't about style points. It's about surviving long enough to protect what matters." As the rogue faction's assault began to falter, the Marines seized the initiative. Jack coordinated a decisive counterattack, rallying his squad to breach the enemy's stronghold. Utilizing Kai's hacked security feeds and Lena's sniper support, they dismantled the faction's core forces, forcing a chaotic retreat. The station's alarms finally fell silent. The immediate threat was neutralized, but the cost was visible: damaged infrastructure, wounded personnel, and a shaken council. In the aftermath, the Marines regrouped in a secure chamber. Malik's wound was being treated, and the team shared a brief moment of exhausted camaraderie. Jack's eyes scanned their faces, young, battle-worn, but unbroken. "We proved something today," he said quietly. "Not just to them, but to ourselves." Jenna nodded, her youthful enthusiasm tempered by hard-earned maturity. "They thought we'd fold under pressure. We didn't." Viral's approach interrupted their moment. The ambassador's expression was serious but no longer dismissive. "Captain Reynolds, your performance today has challenged many of our preconceived notions. The Council will need to reconsider humanity's role in this conflict." Jack's jaw tightened. "I hope reconsideration means action. Because this war isn't over." The rogue faction had retreated, but intelligence suggested their next move would be swift and devastating. The Galactic Council, long reliant on diplomatic solutions and elite peacekeepers, now faced the reality that brute force and tenacity, hallmarks of the human spirit, might be indispensable. Back on the observation deck, murmurs grew into discussions. The Council's members were no longer debating if humans feared war, but how they could integrate this new understanding into their strategy. Jack and his Marines prepared for what lay ahead, aware that their trial by fire was only the beginning. Every scar, every sacrifice, every hard-won victory had forged them into more than soldiers. They had become symbols of humanity's unyielding resolve. And as the galaxy's shadow deepened, the Marines stood ready to meet it head-on. The weight of impending conflict hung heavy over the Galactic Council's chambers like a gathering storm. The rogue faction's retreat was brief and calculated, a strategic withdrawal meant to regroup and strike again with ruthless efficiency. Intelligence reports streamed in, painting a grim picture. Their forces were massing on the frontier worlds, preparing a full-scale assault designed to fracture the Council's fragile unity. Captain Jack Reynolds stood before the briefing table, flanked by his squad, the tension in the room mirrored in their faces. They had proven their mettle during the station assault, but the true test awaited beyond the artificial arena of simulations. Now, the battle was no longer theoretical, it was imminent and merciless. Ambassador Viral, once distant and skeptical, now carried the heavy mantle of urgency. His many eyes flickered with unease as he addressed the room. The Council is divided. Some advocate for continued diplomacy, hoping to broker peace through negotiation. Others argue that the rogue faction's aggression leaves no room for words. They demand a decisive military response. Captain Reynolds, your people have demonstrated effectiveness in combat, yet your military ethos diverges sharply from ours. Jack met Viral's gaze steadily. Diplomacy is vital. But when words fail, strength must speak. The Marines understand sacrifice, the burden of defense. We fight not for conquest but to protect. A chorus of murmurs followed, voices ranging from cautious agreement to veiled doubt. The Galactic Council, composed of diverse civilizations shaped by millennia of warfare and peace, was grappling with the paradox of human warfare, unpredictable, relentless, and steeped in honor. In the days that followed, the Marines prepared for deployment. The station transformed into a whirlwind of activity, armories stocked, strategies refined, personal moments shared beneath the surface of military precision. Jack sought out his squad individually, grounding each member in the mission's gravity. Lena's steely resolve remained unshaken as she checked her gear. "We're not just fighting for Earth," she said quietly. "We're showing the galaxy what humanity is capable of." Kai's fingers danced across his console, already interfacing with the station's systems. "I've been working on new protocols to disrupt their communications more effectively. If we can cripple their command, it'll buy us time." Malik's sniper rifle gleamed under the station's lights, his usually stoic expression marked by a hint of determination. "I'll cover our flanks. No one gets through on my watch." Jenna's youthful face reflected both anticipation and apprehension. "I'm ready. Whatever comes, I'm with you all the way." As departure loomed, Jack allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. The Marines were not just soldiers. They were ambassadors of humanity's resilience and adaptability in a universe that often misunderstood their nature. When the call came, they boarded the transport with steady hearts. The journey to the frontier world was tense, silence punctuated only by the hum of engines and final equipment checks. The planet below emerged from the atmosphere, a rugged landscape scarred by previous conflicts, its skies darkened with ash and smoke. The rogue faction had begun their assault, battering the Council's defenses with overwhelming force. Upon landing, the Marines moved swiftly into position. The cacophony of battle greeted them, distant explosions, the crackle of energy weapons, and the shouts of alien soldiers mingled with human commands. Jack took point, leading his squad through crumbling urban ruins and jagged terrain. The terrain was hostile, but the Marines adapted quickly, using every advantage, from vantage points to environmental hazards, to counter the enemy. They encountered fierce resistance. Rogue combatants fought with brutal efficiency, their desperation fueling savage tactics. Yet the Marines held the line, their cohesion and training turning potential chaos into coordinated defense. At one point, Jack's unit was ambushed in a narrow alley. Outnumbered and outgunned, they relied on instinct and teamwork. Lena's sharpshooting picked off threats before they closed in, Malik's sniper shots covered their rear, while Kai jammed enemy sensors, masking their movements. Jenna's quick reflexes saved Jack from a lethal strike, cementing her place not just as a squad member but as a vital part of the team. The battle stretched on, the Marines pushing forward despite fatigue and wounds. Jack's leadership was steady, his voice a beacon of resolve amidst the storm. During a lull, Ambassador Viral arrived at the front lines, a rare and risky move. He observed the Marines' actions firsthand, witnessing their willingness to press on against overwhelming odds. "You embody a warrior spirit that transcends your technology," Viral admitted quietly. "There is honor in your persistence, Captain." Jack nodded. "We fight because we must. For those who cannot." The rogue faction's attack began to falter under the relentless countermeasures. The Marines coordinated with the Council's remaining forces, turning the tide in several key sectors. Yet victory came at a cost. The scars of battle were etched deeply, wounded comrades, shattered landscapes, and a grim reminder that the war was far from over. As the dust settled, Jack gathered his squad. They had endured the storm together, their bonds forged in fire. The Council's divisions remained, but the undeniable reality was that humanity had earned a place at the galactic table, not just as diplomats, but as warriors willing to bear the burden of war. The real war loomed on the horizon, darker and more formidable than any simulation or skirmish. Yet the Marines stood ready, their resolve unbroken. Jack's final words to his squad echoed with unwavering conviction. "This is only the beginning. We carry the future of humanity and the galaxy with us. We fight not because we want to, but because we must." And with that, they prepared to face whatever came next. The echoes of battle slowly faded as the galaxy began to reckon with the consequences of the Marines' fierce intervention. What had started as a distant conflict on a frontier world had blossomed into a defining moment for humanity, a crucible that would shape not only their future but the collective consciousness of the Galactic Council. The legacy of humanity, forged in relentless struggle and tempered by unwavering resolve, was becoming impossible to ignore. Captain Jack Reynolds surveyed the aftermath from the bridge of the Council's flagship, the steel-gray expanse of stars stretching before him. His squad, now fewer in number but no less determined, gathered around him. The scars on their bodies mirrored the scars on the political landscape they had helped reshape. Ambassador Viral approached, his posture formal but his eyes softer, touched with respect. "Your people have altered the course of history, Captain. The Council has begun revising its treaties and strategies in light of your actions." Jack nodded slowly. "We didn't come here to change history. We came to protect it. To protect humanity and anyone else caught in the crossfire." The Council chambers were abuzz with debate. Some members championed humanity's warrior spirit as a vital asset in galactic diplomacy. Others worried about the unpredictability and sheer ferocity of human tactics. The divide was deep but bridged by a shared recognition. Humans, and their Marines in particular, had introduced a new paradigm of conflict, one defined by resilience, adaptability, and an unyielding refusal to back down. Lena Morales stood alongside Jack, her gaze distant but resolute. "We've proven ourselves on the battlefield," she said quietly, "but now the real work begins. Earning trust, ensuring peace." Kai Chen's fingers tapped idly against the console. "Our tech is still primitive compared to theirs, but our ingenuity is what sets us apart. We adapt faster, think differently. That's our edge." Malik Rivers, tending to a minor injury sustained during the last engagement, offered a rare smile. "It's not just the gear or the training. It's the heart. No alien tech can replicate that." Jenna Ortiz, now a seasoned Marine, met Jack's eyes with a fierce determination. "We carry their hopes as much as our own. We can't afford to fail." Outside the flagship's panoramic windows, the remnants of the rogue faction's forces were scattered, their ambitions crushed but not extinguished. The galaxy's fragile peace remained under threat, yet the presence of humans added a layer of deterrence previously unimagined. Jack understood the paradox they now faced. Their brutal effectiveness in combat had won battles and respect, but it also sowed fear. Allies looked to them for protection yet hesitated at the price of that protection. Enemies learned to fear the tenacity of human Marines, but they also feared the unpredictability of their tactics. The captain reflected on the countless battles and losses, the friends who had fallen, the sacrifices etched into every mission. Each scar was a story, each story a testament to humanity's stubborn will to endure. One evening, as the flagship orbited a quiet planet, Jack found a moment of solitude. He gazed at a faded photograph clipped inside his helmet, a group shot of his original squad, smiling before deployment. The faces of Lena, Kai, Malik, Jenna, and himself were youthful, unmarked by the weight of war. He traced the edges of the photo, his thoughts drifting. We came here as soldiers, but we leave as legends. The galaxy won't forget what humanity can endure, and what it can fight for. The legacy was not just in victories or treaties, but in the intangible: hope, courage, and an unbreakable spirit that challenged the very notion of fear. Humans were no longer the naive newcomers the Council had once underestimated. They were warriors, diplomats, survivors. In the Council's archives, records were rewritten to include the contributions of Earth's Marines. Young recruits across star systems studied the battles fought and lessons learned. Tales of humanity's grit became part of the shared lore, inspiring a new generation. Back with his squad, Jack's voice carried the quiet conviction of a man who had seen too much to be optimistic yet held onto hope fiercely. This war tested us, broke us, but it also made us stronger. Our legacy isn't just about fighting. It's about standing tall when everything tells you to fall. Lena smiled softly. We're not just survivors. We're a force to be reckoned with. Kai added, and as long as we keep pushing forward, no enemy can break us. Malik's steady gaze swept over them all. We fight for those who can't. That's our oath. Jenna, her eyes shining with resolve, whispered, and we'll keep fighting, no matter what comes next. The galaxy watched and waited. Humanity's Marines had become a symbol, a beacon that, in the darkest moments, courage and unity could turn the tide. Their story was far from over. It was a legacy written in the stars, carried by those brave enough to defend them. As the flagship slipped silently through the void, Jack's final thought lingered like a promise. Humanity's fight was eternal, their spirit indomitable, their legacy unyielding. And the universe had only just begun to understand what that meant.